If someone has ever told you, just fake it till you make it, I want you to know they mean well. And they were wrong. That phrase has been repeated so many times that it feels like wisdom. But if you're a high achieving woman who has ever sat in a room and thought, I don't belong here, they're going to figure me out, you already know that pretending didn't make the feeling go away. It just gave you one more thing to manage on top of everything else. Today, we are talking about imposter syndrome. What it actually is, why it hits hardest on people who are most qualified, and what actually works instead of faking it. Hi, I'm Fernanda. I'm a people development consultant, and I work with organizations to develop their leaders and teams. I have a soft spot for women's leadership challenges. Imposter syndrome is one of the topics I come back to again and again. I came to it when I was leading women's ERGs, developing my team, and mentoring young women. It still comes up today when I'm coaching professional women. And I just want to be clear, I'm not talking about people who are underprepared. I'm talking about the women who are over-prepared, over-credentialed, and still quietly convinced that they don't deserve to be in the room. Let's get into it. First, let's define the thing that we're actually talking about because it gets misused a lot. Imposter syndrome was first named in 1978 by psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. They were studying high achieving women, women with advanced degrees, strong track records, and real accomplishments. They kept finding the same pattern. These women believed that their success was due to luck, timing, or charm, not based on their skill, not based on their effort, and not based on them. Here's what imposter syndrome is. It's a persistent internal experience of feeling like a fraud despite external evidence of competence. And here's what it is not. It is not low self-esteem across the board. People with imposter syndrome often function at a very high level. They're not necessarily insecure in every area of their lives. They can be warm, confident, socially at ease, and still feel completely exposed the moment someone questions their expertise or puts them in an evaluative context. It's also not a clinical diagnosis. It's a pattern, a psychological experience, and it's remarkably common. Here's the part that surprises people. Imposter syndrome is more common in high achievers, not less. And there's a reason for that. When you're highly capable, you're usually also highly aware. You can see the complexity of what you don't know. You understand the gap between where you are and mastery. You set the bar high, and then you measure yourself against it constantly. Meanwhile, someone with less self-awareness doesn't have that same internal calibration. They may not see the gap. There's actually a psychological concept for this. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The less you know, the more confident you feel. So the cruel irony is, the better you are, the more you actually feel your own limitations. And the more you accomplish, the higher the stakes for getting found out. There's also a compounding factor for women specifically. Research consistently shows that women in many professional environments face what's called the double blind. They're evaluated more harshly for the same level of performance as men, and they internalize that scrutiny. Over time, that external skepticism can become an internal voice. This is not a character flaw. It's a completely understandable response to environments that haven't always treated women's competence as a given. I want to take a second and get personal here because I don't think this topic lands the same way when it's just theory. I've experienced imposter syndrome. I still do sometimes. But there were two situations. in my career where it hit me the hardest. The first was every time I started a new job. Didn't matter how prepared I was, how strong my track record was, how much I knew going in. There was always a period at the beginning where I would look around at everyone who seemed so comfortable and competent, and I would think they all know something I don't. It's only a matter of time before they realize that I'm still figuring this out. The second was during high stress seasons when things were hard. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change. I remember specifically during the pandemic, this was a situation I can remember. That voice got so much louder for me. Like the stress would strip away whatever confidence I had built up and leave me back at the square one. And here's what I know now that I wish I would have known then. Those two triggers, transitions and stress, are exactly when imposter syndrome tends to spike for everyone. It's not unique to me. It's not a sign that something's wrong with me. It's a very human response to feeling exposed and uncertain. But knowing that didn't automatically make it go away. I still had to learn what to actually do with it. And that's where the advice of just fake it really fell short to me, because performing confidence when I was already stretched thin wasn't sustainable. I needed something real. That's what I want to give you. So, why is fake it till you make it the wrong prescription? Here's a few reasons. One, it's cognitively exhausting. If you already feel like a fraud, performing confidence on top of that is another layer of performance. You're not solving the problem, you're managing it while also still doing your actual job. That's a tax on your bandwidth that compounds over time. Two, it reinforces the lie. Faking it is built on the assumption that who you actually are is not enough. So every time you fake it, you're implicitly confirming to yourself that the real you needs to be hidden. That's the opposite of building confidence. Three, it disconnects you from your actual strengths. Authentic authority, the kind that actually lands with other people, comes from knowing what you know and why you know it. Performing a version of confidence that isn't grounded in your real experiences is brittle. It cracks under pressure. Real confidence doesn't. So what does work? I want to give you 3 things you can actually use. Strategy 1, name it to tame it. When that imposter syndrome feeling shows up, and it will, learn to recognize it as a pattern, not as truth. The goal is to create just a little distance between yourself and that feeling. Instead of thinking, I don't belong here, try, there's that imposter feeling again. You're not suppressing it, you're just not letting it narrate your entire experience. Naming it, even internally, shifts you from being the feeling to observing it. And from observation, you can choose how to respond. Strategy number 2, build an evidence file. This one is practical and a little nerdy, but I love it. Keep a running document, a note on your phone, or a folder in your email, anything where you collect evidence of your competence. Emails where someone thanked you, projects that went well, moments where you handled something hard, feedback that was specific and positive. Imposter syndrome thrives on vague fear and selective memory. It will always reach for the one thing that went wrong, and it will ignore the 30 things that went right. An evidence file is a tool for fighting that distortion with data. Pull it out before a high-stakes meeting. Read it before a performance review. And this is key, build it before you're in a high-stress situation, because that's exactly when you'll need it most and be least likely to remember it on your own. Strategy 3, reframe from do I belong to what can I contribute? This is the reframe I see make the most difference. When you walk into a room asking, do I belong here? You're in evaluation mode. You're waiting to be judged. Every moment is a test. When you walk in asking, what can I contribute here? You're in contribution mode. You're oriented towards the work, not your own worthiness. And paradoxically, that orientation is exactly what belonging actually looks like. You don't wait to feel like you belong and then contribute. You contribute, and that's how you build belonging. Imposter syndrome doesn't mean you're not ready. It often means the opposite, that you care deeply and that you're self aware and that you're playing in the spaces that actually challenge you. The goal isn't to eliminate the feeling, it's to stop letting it make decisions for you. If you're a leader working through this individually, I hope these 3 strategies give you something to start. And if you're HR or leadership development and you're thinking, my women leaders need this, you're probably right. This is exactly the kind of topic I build into women's leadership programs for organizations. If you want to bring that work to your team, let's connect. The link is in the description. If this resonated with you, subscribe. I put out content on people development, leadership, and the human side of organizational life. And leave me a comment. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome during a big transition or a stressful situation? I'd love to hear your story. I'll see you in the next one.